They summon ancient spirits, the true African voodoo. You've been lied to about what voodoo really is. It's not dolls with pins. It's not movie-style sorcery. And it's definitely not evil stuff. What almost no one told you or deliberately kept hidden is that voodoo from Africa is one of the oldest, most powerful, and complete spiritual traditions on the planet. It's a real connection to ancient spirits, to nature, to the ancestors, and to yourself. While many people search for answers in self-help books, others, for centuries, have known how to access wisdom, protection, and healing through deep rituals that transform body, mind, and soul. Yes, there is magic involved, but not the kind you were made to fear. And if you think this all stayed in the past, get ready. True voodoo didn't just survive. It's more alive than ever. And in this video, you're going to learn what no one dares to tell you about it. But first, let me ask you something. Are you really ready to touch the invisible? The origins of African voodoo. Long before books and modern empires, the people of Benin, Togo, and Nigeria were already in dialogue with unseen forces shaping their daily lives. It wasn't religion as we know it today. It was a living, visceral connection with the sacred that pulses through nature and in the bones of the ancestors. The word Vodun, from which voodoo is derived, means exactly that: spirit, divinity, energy. Forget pointy hats and needle dolls, this is the real thing. The true magic of Africa isn't in movies. It's in the scent of incense, the heat of the drum, the gesture that honors those who came before. A grandfather invoking protection while planting, a grandmother singing to call the rain, a grandson watching and learning. The ritual starts with reverence and ends in transformation. And every step of that journey is ancient and alive all at once. In these lands where everything vibrates with energy, voodoo was never a secret. It's always been daily practice. The woman who heals with herbs, the elder who reads signs in the wind, the child who learns to listen to silence. What the West might call superstition, Africa knows as wisdom. Every chant, every dance, every painted symbol carries generations of meaning. The spirits, or rather the presences, aren't far away. They're here, watching, interacting, guiding. And the people answer back with ceremonies that renew that sacred pact. This isn't just belief, it's culture, identity, and power. Once you understand this, you begin to see voodoo differently, far from those mass-produced myths. There's a direct, almost physical connection between practitioners and their ancestors. When a ritual begins, it's not just symbolic. It's a bridge between worlds. The elders say the spirits only appear if they feel truly welcomed. That's why everything must be precise. The right music, the right foods, the right words. It's a spiritual code passed through experience, not textbooks. And that's where the ritual gains its power. It's not repeated out of empty tradition. It's done because it works. Because the ancestors, those who built everything, are still walking beside us. A simple example: when a family faces a crisis, they don't go straight to a pastor or a psychologist. First, they honor the ancestors. They ask the spirits. And often, the answer comes. What's wild is, even without realizing it, people all over the world follow practices that began with these African traditions. Herbal remedies, cleansing baths, protective rituals, all rooted in magic from the continent. The difference is, over there, it's still done with full awareness. Nothing is random. Each leaf is picked at the right hour. Every drumbeat has a reason. Every chant has a direction. This isn't folklore, it's spiritual science, alive and evolving. And believe it or not, these traditions have shaped religions across the globe, from Umbanda and Candomblé to Haitian voodoo and North American hoodoo. And the most fascinating part? It all began there, among people who saw the world with different eyes. Eyes that knew the invisible is just as real as the visible. And within that cultural richness is something most never grasp. African voodoo isn't a religion you convert to. It's a tradition you preserve. It doesn't preach, it passes on. It doesn't impose, it shares. And that changes everything. Those who arrive arrogantly, trying to prove or disprove, understand nothing. But those who approach humbly, ready to feel and listen, end up touching something that defies logic. Because this isn't about believing, it's about belonging. That's why, in villages, the rituals are lived with full intensity. From sunrise to nightfall, someone is always in contact with the sacred. And in that context, the word voodoo shifts. It stops being a stigma and becomes a symbol of resistance, of identity, and of ancestral memory. And when we speak of ancestry, we're speaking of power. Not the kind that dominates, the kind that sustains, that guides. Knowing where you come from helps you see where you're going. That's why African voodoo is, above all, a compass. It helps people find their way through the madness of the modern world. Want a real-life example? Some turn to Ifa oracles when making big decisions. Others perform the head-cleansing ritual to release emotional tension and find clarity. These are ancient tools being used today with real results. And all of it stands on one truth. African spirituality is complete, sophisticated, and lacks nothing. In fact, much of what the modern world calls New Age discovery, the ancestors were already doing thousands of years ago. The most surprising part is how this tradition survived invasions, slavery, colonization, and cultural erasure. It survived because it lives in the body, in the speech, in the gesture. It's not trapped in temples or books. It's etched into the soul. And that soul, even when wounded, never stopped dancing. With every drumbeat, every lit candle, the ritual is reborn. It's reborn in Haiti, in Bahia, in New Orleans. But its root remains strong in Africa. And now, more than ever, it's being rediscovered by those searching for truth. Something that can't be bought on a shelf, but is felt in the bones. And if all this already feels powerful, just wait until we step beyond the veil, where the spirits are waiting. The spirits, lows, and the invisible world. There's an entire universe the ordinary eyes can't see. A world where logic doesn't reign, but where everything has meaning. This is where the lows dwell, the spirits of African voodoo. Each one has its personality, its preferences, its history, and purpose. They're not demons or angels, as some claim, but ancestral presences, forces that engage with the physical world when properly honored. Imagine knocking on the door of a sacred elder. If you don't know how, there's no point trying. The same goes for the lows. They require codes, ceremony, clear intention. And when they show up, everything shifts. The invisible speaks. That's when the ritual becomes a portal, and the magic truly begins. The elders say each spirit has its taste. Some prefer rum, others like strong coffee. Some request animal blood, others accept only flowers. Sounds strange? Even major religions have similar practices. In voodoo, spirit communication is based on exchange. You want help? You give something, not as a bribe, as respect. Think of it as a spiritual contract. Each invocation has a dance, a drum rhythm, a color. Nothing is random. This is ancestral precision. The lows have humor, honor, even jealousy. Once you step into this world, you must learn how to navigate it wisely. The invocation rituals are intense. The energy thickens, drums pulse, bodies start to sway, and then someone enters a trance. It's not acting, it's embodiment. The spirit comes, inhabits the body, speaks, dances, heals. There are countless stories of people speaking unknown languages or revealing secrets during trance. Some even heal physical conditions. Yes, heal. When magic is channeled with integrity, it produces real-world impact. Science can't explain it. Maybe it doesn't have to. But those who've witnessed it know it's impossible to fake. The body changes, the eyes shift, the voice transforms. It's a raw, sacred moment of power and presence. And don't think this only happens in remote villages. In urban centers across Africa and the diaspora, connecting with lows is as natural as lighting a candle. In New Orleans, Haitian homes, Brazilian terreiros, the voodoo tradition breathes. Each loa has a domain. Ogun for strength and justice, Legba for protection and access. But they aren't toys. They demand respect. You don't summon them out of curiosity. You summon with purpose, with soul. The beauty of this spiritual path is how direct the connection is. There's no absolute intermediary. The priest, Haungan, is a guide, but the contact is personal. This gives the practitioner a rare sense of power and responsibility. Everyone carries their own spiritual phone line, you just have to learn how to dial. There are techniques, vevs, sacred symbols drawn with flower, function like antennas. Songs, rhythms, specific dances. Each act opens channels. And once the signal is clear, the communication flows. Once you understand this, your view of the world shifts. Life stops feeling random. Setbacks become messages. An illness, a series of misfortunes, it might be a spiritual imbalance. That's where the ritual comes in. Clears, aligns, reconnects. And you don't need to be broken to seek it. Many maintain regular communication with the lows. A spiritual bath, a night of chanting, a small offering, it's soul maintenance. And it works. Though this all may sound too mystical for Western logic, the truth behind voodoo is simple. The invisible shapes the visible. It always has. But many lost that sensitivity, numbed by fear or indoctrination. Those who dare to feel again, to listen again, find that the lows are still here, watching, waiting, ready to respond to those who call with respect. And once you open that door, a deeper path begins, one where the sacred dance, the blood, and the trance await. Sacred rituals, dance, blood, and trance. When the drums begin, it's not just music, it's a call. Each beat carries a frequency that shakes the body and awakens the spirit. In African Voodoo, dance isn't entertainment, it's sacred language. Through movement, the body speaks to the spirits. Every step, every spin, every stomp is a silent prayer. And what's amazing, you don't have to be a dancer. The body responds on its own, tunes into the rhythm of the invisible. That's when trance begins. It's not hypnosis, not acting. It's spirit entering the body. And in that mix of sweat and soul, the ritual shows its rawest, most powerful form. Blood can be shocking to outsiders. But in this context, it's life, a cycle closing. The sacrificed animal isn't killed out of cruelty. It's honored, fed beforehand, blessed, offered with reverence. The blood is the link. It carries energy, vitality, and is directed to the spirit realm. It's a pact. Other religions have done the same, Hebrews, Greeks, Christians. The difference is in awareness. In Voodoo, nothing is wasted. The community consumes the meat. It's spiritual and social, a sacred exchange. Trance, on the other hand, is deeply spiritual. It doesn't come from drugs, it comes from energy. Rhythm, breath, intention, they take the practitioner to a state where the spirit can enter. During trance, people speak languages they never learned, walk on fire, reveal hidden truths. This is magic that science still can't name. The body becomes a vessel. The spirit becomes the voice. No two trances are the same. Some cry, some laugh, some simply sway for hours. Each manifestation carries meaning. These rituals are both therapeutic and transcendent. People come carrying trauma, pain, spiritual blocks, and leave lighter, whole. African Voodoo doesn't just heal the body, it heals the soul. That anxiety with no explanation, that heaviness, often it's energy buildup, and rituals act like a soul cleansing. After a trance, dreams shift, signs appear, inner peace returns. It's powerful and real. No one watches from the sidelines in a Voodoo ritual. Everyone participates. Some dance, some drum, some sing. It's a current, collective wave. Not a performance, a communion. This is where magic happens. The drum doesn't follow sheet music. It follows spirit. And when the energy flows, the rhythm speaks. Some rituals last hours, others stretch through the night. Symbols, vevs, are drawn on the ground. Candles lit, herbs burned. Experienced practitioners can read the room like a book. They know when a spirit is near, angry, pleased. This isn't taught in books. It's learned by living it. Once learned, it's never forgotten. It's soul knowledge. And rituals are not for the faint of spirit. They demand courage, presence, faith in the unseen. Newcomers are prepared before entering intense rituals. It's not just dance and go. There's fasting, silence, cleansing. You must empty to receive. And once you're ready, The ritual shows its deepest face. Healing. People find what therapy never gave them. Because voodoo doesn't give doctrine, it gives experience. And just when you think you've seen it all, it pulls you deeper. Voodoo versus Western myths. If the West mastered anything, it was demonizing what it didn't understand, especially when it came to African traditions. And voodoo was one of the biggest targets. Hollywood made it look like dolls with pins, evil spells, and zombies. But ask any real practitioner and they'll either laugh or get mad, rightfully so. Because true voodoo isn't about harm, it's about balance. It's a sacred system passed through generations, focused on healing, protection, and wisdom. But fear sells, ignorance spreads. So what was once sacred became a punchline, or worse, the villain. All of it designed to justify colonization, slavery, and cultural erasure. But the truth? Voodoo was never the enemy, it was always the power they couldn't control. The evil spell stereotype is lazy and insulting. It's like assuming every priest performs exorcisms or every pastor is a scammer. Voodoo has ethics, structure, and spiritual intelligence. You don't call on a spirit to cause chaos. You call to restore balance. Yes, there's magic, but it's ancestral magic, not party tricks. Sacred drawings, vevs, chants, herbal baths, and offerings. Every symbol has depth. And more than that, it takes preparation. You don't just perform a ritual on a whim. Some require weeks or months of fasting, silence, and study. That's something no Hollywood writer can understand from a Google search. Voodoo is complex, and that's exactly why it scares superficial minds. Western media has always feared what it couldn't domesticate. And African rituals are wild, organic, and alive. That doesn't sit well with systems that need control. So, they labeled it black magic. Ever wonder about that phrase? Black as in African, evil by default. That's spiritual racism, masked as doctrine. Yet ironically, so many practices labeled New Age today come straight from Africa. Herbal baths? That's voodoo. Protection amulets, ancestor veneration, spirit communication? All African roots. But in the West, they rebrand it, strip the culture, keep the power. It's appropriation without acknowledgement. Yes, some rituals are intense, but that doesn't make them evil. A protection ritual might seem harsh if you don't know what's happening. People fear what they don't understand. Blood, trance, fire, it all looks scary without context. But inside the voodoo framework, it's order, not chaos. It's healing, not harm. Western eyes judge from a distance. They call it superstition when they should call it science of the soul. What they call witchcraft is often medicine. What they call possession could be transformation in progress. Part of the myth comes from fear of spiritual autonomy. In voodoo, you don't need a church or pastor to reach the divine. You learn to connect directly. That's liberation, and to some systems, that's dangerous. So they labeled it demonic. Told people they'd burn for practicing. But look back, who really caused the harm? Those who silenced, burned, enslaved, or those who danced and spoke with their ancestors? The truth is, while the West built cathedrals, Africa built spiritual connection. And that difference makes them uncomfortable. What's ironic is that many people reject voodoo, but secretly use parts of it every day. Lighting candles for intentions, tossing salt, wearing spiritual beads, talking about bad energy. Where do you think that comes from? African spirituality. Just without the name, the history, or the credit. They take what's convenient and discard the rest. But the roots remain, and the real magic keeps working because it's real. And more people are waking up, realizing they've been taught to fear the very thing that could set them free. That's why the truth must be told. With clarity, with depth, with dignity. Voodoo isn't a shadow in the corner. It's a blazing fire of knowledge. Those who dare to learn discover something ancient, radical, and healing. And once the myths fall, a new question emerges. What exactly is being offered in these rituals? And who or what receives them? Sacrifices and offerings. The link to the spiritual world. To truly understand voodoo, you must let go of the modern mindset that everything is about profit or getting something in return. In African spirituality, the principle is different. You give first. A ritual isn't just a cry for help. It's a sacred act of gratitude. Sacrifices aren't senseless violence. They're meaningful, intentional, symbolic. A chicken might represent purity. A goat might stand for strength. Rum represents joy. Each has a purpose and destination. The lows, the spirits. Offering says, I see you. I respect you. It's reverence, not brutality. Sacrifices also work energetically. Blood, food, smoke, all carry vibration. Offering these is like fueling the spiritual connection. Think of it like Wi-Fi. The better the offering, the stronger the signal. And not all offerings involve blood. Often, fruits, flowers, coins, or homemade meals are enough. What matters isn't the material value. It's the intention. Ever seen someone cook for a saint? That's what this is. And in Voodoo, that's real magic, the magic of giving to receive with balance. The initiated know, no sacrifice happens out of ego. Not a drop of blood is shed without permission. First come prayers, chants, divinations. You don't walk into a sacred space and just act. That would be dangerous. That's why rituals are led by trained houngans and mambos, spiritual guides who know the signs, the timing, the proper protocol. Sometimes the spirit asks for something big. Other times, just a candle or a heartfelt song is enough. This sensitivity separates the true practitioner from the dabbler. There's a quiet beauty in giving to the ancestors. A plate of food on the altar, a lit cigarette at a crossroads, a colorful cloth tied to a tree. These are messages. And like any message, they must be honest. Some give out of fear, others out of hope. But the ones who truly walk the Voodoo path give out of honor. Because spirituality isn't just asking the universe for things. It's keeping the conversation alive with the other side. Like visiting your grandparents, even if they've passed. That's power. That's memory. And offerings don't end when they're given. The atmosphere changes. Drums sound different. The wind shifts. The body feels it. The lows respond. Sometimes subtly in dreams, hunches, synchronicities. Other times directly in visions, possession, or dramatic shifts in life. I've seen people make offerings and watch their luck change that same day. Not because of superstition, because their intent was aligned. When the spirit world sees you came with truth, it opens doors. Urban practices today still echo these ancestral acts. Offerings at rivers, candles at intersections, sacred objects buried in rituals. This isn't superstition, it's spiritual technology, energy engineering, a way to bring things back into balance. Real-life example, people going through loss, illness, or financial chaos. Many find real relief after a sincere offering, and it doesn't have to be extravagant. A meal prepared with heart can mean more than a goat killed in haste. What matters is the soul behind it. That's where the magic is. Understanding sacrifice and offering is understanding that spirituality isn't consumption. It's commitment. It's not what do I get, but what am I willing to give? That question scares many because it demands responsibility. But those who walk this road with courage discover rewards far beyond what they imagined. Because once the spirit world recognizes your honesty, it walks beside you. And then you realize life itself can be a ritual. So, ask yourself, what are you ready to give in order to receive what you truly seek? Voodoo today, living tradition or forbidden practice. Voodoo may be ancient, but it's far from extinct. In Benin, Togo, Nigeria, and across the diaspora, it still beats like a living heart. But practicing it openly takes guts. In parts of Africa, Voodoo is respected, in others, it's feared. Colonization and imported religions taught people to shame their own culture. Schools and churches drilled in the idea that Voodoo was evil. That damage still echoes. Yet the tradition endures, because what's real survives, and what's ancestral always finds a way back. In cities like Cotonou or Lomé, you'll find markets filled with sacred items, herbs, ritual dolls, and talismans. Yes, magic sold in daylight, but with deep respect. There, spirituality isn't hidden. It's medicine. It's identity. Entire villages still rely on priests as doctors, counselors, and healers. They carry wisdom passed down for generations. No Western diploma, just centuries of results. Even with modern life closing in, voodoo evolves. It shows up in public festivals, family rituals, even political ceremonies. Tradition bends but doesn't break. Still, not everything is easy. In Christian or Islamic regions, practitioners face stigma, even persecution. Some are disowned, mocked, or forced to hide. Yet, in times of crisis, many of these same critics secretly visit a Haungan. Because when pain hits hard, ancestral wisdom starts to make sense again. It's the age-old story. Deny it in public, seek it in private. Deep down, they know it works. And it's not just in Africa. The African diaspora carried voodoo worldwide. In Haiti, it's official religion. In Brazil, it blends into candomblé. In Cuba, it becomes Santeria. In New Orleans, it's cultural resistance. Everywhere, it adapts but stays true. Offerings change. Names evolve. But the root, still the same. Spirits, ancestors, power through ritual. It's wild to see something once hunted down now influencing music, fashion, therapy, and yes, Hollywood scripts. But most still don't understand it. Because to understand voodoo, you have to live it, feel it, breathe it. Young Africans today are torn between modern life and ancient heritage. Many raised with smartphones now turn back to what their grandparents knew. Some out of curiosity, others out of spiritual need, others for identity. And now you'll find voodoo on YouTube, TikTok, WhatsApp, yes, it's online. Teaching vevs, explaining spirit baths, showing how to honor lows. Some face backlash. Many feel pride, because they know they're holding sacred legacy. There's also a rising wave of cultural respect. Museums now display ritual items as spiritual artifacts, not exotic oddities. Scholars study voodoo as philosophy and science. And most importantly, communities reclaim it. Kids learn the chants. Young people go through initiations. Women reclaim their role as spiritual leaders. Voodoo is alive not just as religion, but as a way of seeing the world. Honoring the past, trusting the unseen, claiming identity. Living voodoo today is a political act. It says, "You will not erase me." It's walking barefoot and looking skyward. It's knowing tradition isn't a cage. It's a foundation. And while the world keeps changing, the drums still know the way home. Each ritual, each offering, each summoned spirit, it reconnects Africa to itself. And if you think this is just history, the future belongs to those who remember. Now that you've learned about the roots, the spirits, the rituals, the sacrifices, and the resistance of true voodoo, let me ask you, what will you do with this knowledge? Will you keep it to yourself, or use it to awaken something ancient within you that the world tried to silence? The truth is, the power was always in your hands, but you were taught to fear it. Fear the invisible, doubt your intuition, forget your ancestry. But after all you've heard here, are you still going to ignore the call? Have you ever wondered why certain doors won't open? Why the same patterns repeat? Maybe what's missing isn't a miracle, but a reconnection, a return to something sacred. The ritual is just the beginning. The magic, the true magic, starts when you choose to live with courage and awareness. So tell me, are you ready to take that step? If this resonated with you, drop a comment and tell me what surprised you most, what hit deep. And of course, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, because there's still so much they don't want you to know. But I'm here to show you.